Hello, friends. Welcome to the Luli Gaggle podcast. My name is Colleen Christensen, and I am the Chief Content Officer here at Luli. We are so excited to be launching this podcast and sharing some amazing conversations with you that are going to be both educational and entertaining. We've got a mix of expert interviews to pick their brains and discussions with influencers where we get the lowdown on their wellness routines. The real behind-the-scenes stuff, and we fact check, so you're never led astray. We will also be sharing one full episode a week of the Luli News. The Luli News is a daily rundown Monday through Friday of top trending stories. We sift through the headlines, do the research, and give you the rundown of what you need to know, what's misinformation, what's overhyped, and what the actual takeaway is. I know you are going to love this podcast so much, so be sure to hit follow wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Your support really helps us keep this going and allowing us to bring you more and even better guests. In today's episode, we sat down with dermatologist Dr. Brooke Vasicek, and we are getting the lowdown on all things skincare. Dermatologist approves steps that are easy, practical, and simple to follow and stick to. And most importantly, effective. I have already purchased and implemented some of the things. This straw is something that I gained from my conversation with Dr. Vasicek, as well as a couple other eye cream that she recommends. Obsessed. It's honestly changed my skincare routine and made it a lot simpler than I thought it needs to be, so I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Whether you're starting your routine from scratch or updating your existing regimen, you're gonna love it. I guarantee you will get something from this episode. And we do have a corresponding blog post to this with all of the recommendations linked, as well as her guidance. So don't feel like you need to jot something down in your notes app. Just sit back and either listen or watch as you relax. So without further ado, let's get into it. Here's our conversation with Dr. Vasicek. Okay, I am so excited to dive on into this. I know who you are, but can you just give our listeners just a little bit of an intro before we kind of get into all of the nitty-gritty questions and digging at your expertise of who you are, kind of like how you got into this line of work, just a little about me, if you will.
Yeah, so my name is Brooke Vasicek. I am a general dermatologist, so I spend most of my time doing medical, surgical, and cosmetic dermatology. I work at a private practice in West Michigan. That is where I'm from, so born and raised here. I went to Michigan State University for my undergrad, and I hung around for med school as well. Go White. Did my intern year near Detroit at St. John's Hospital, and then headed to Chicago for my dermatology residency, where I was at Loyola University for my 3 years of dermatology specific training. And that was a great time. I served as cosmetic chief for a year. I served as chief resident, more like scheduling and managing your colleagues my last year in residency. And then I've been at my current job ever since.
I cannot wait to pick your brain with stuff. So first of all, I want to talk about just kind of the idea of aging and kind of where that comes into this whole, it just gets so complex. And I actually saw someone post about something a couple days ago, and they had said, like, we shame women for aging, but then someone in the comments was shaming her for getting like Botox and stuff like that. And it just feels like, I mean, in terms of like beauty standards and diet culture, like we can never be enough. We're always wrong in some way. So I kind of just wanted to start this conversation off with that topic and how to kind of like navigate that and just kind of set the stage for, because we're going to be talking about anti-aging, different procedures and whatnot. But what is kind of like your thoughts on that? I mean, you probably see both sides of it. I don't want to speak for you, but like you're a woman living in this world. There's, all of these standards, but then also kind of seeing people come into your practice. What are kind of like your general thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I will start off this kind of topic with maybe a popular, unpopular statement, but aging is a blessing. I mean, I think the first thing to do is like pause and look at that. Not everyone gets to age, right? Like we are so fortunate to get that opportunity. So I think you kind of have to embrace it. Yes, you can try and age naturally, you can age gracefully, but we're all going to age and just take a step back because you really can't prevent it. Despite all of the things that we'll talk about today, it's going to happen. And so just try and reflect on that with a little bit of a positive attitude. I always joke that when people come into my practice, they have their beer goggles on because they'll always come in and say, oh my gosh, you have the most beautiful skin. Like, what do you do? And I feel like sometimes just because I'm a dermatologist, people think I have, way better skin than theirs. But really, there's a lot of things out there, right? The skincare industry, the cosmeceuticals industry is like $12 billion billion. So that's what I tell people. A lot of this, the marketing is ahead of the science. So there are
Okay.
some things that have been well studied, and we can say, okay, use this. This is really good for prevention. But I mean, social media and just all of the threads out there, people are trying to take your money, right? Like there's TikTok shop, there's click here for ads. A lot of this is marketing. So I think we have some good, easy steps that everyone should be doing just to kind of age gracefully if they want to. And then, like you say, there's the next steps that are more involved, lasers, peels, in-office treatments, injectables, that you can add to it for people who want to.
And I love how you said for people who want to, because there might be someone who honestly turns off this podcast and is like, I don't want to hear about all those things. And I think that's okay. But it's also okay for you to want to put makeup on in the morning, for you to want to do your hair, for you to want to get Botox. Like, I think the more that we can view this with like non-judgment, and also kind of, I don't know if you do any sort of like speaking to your patients at all of like why you want to do this, of like, is it for you, is it for other people? I don't know if anyone has came in with any like crazy requests or
Luckily, not so much for me. Most of my cosmetics, I would say probably 50% are coming from patients who I see medically who
Mhm.
say, okay, well, I'm here for skin cancer prevention, psoriasis, these types of things, but I want you to help me age naturally. And I
Mhm.
love doing that because I think part of the aging process or finding a regimen that works well for you is having that good relationship with the
Mhm.
person who you're trusting with injectables and that type of a thing. My other 50% are patients who, yeah, just hear about me and come on in. And I think that's great too. And you do build that relationship over time. But I would say generally, being in West Michigan, we're not getting really crazy requests,
Mhm.
or if we do, they're generally ending up in a plastic surgeon's office because they want
Ah,
more
that's a very good
dramatic
differentiator.
things than what we would offer.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. So we've got a very level-headed tone for this conversation. I'm excited for it. Okay,
Colleen,
let's
I will
get
tell you,
into
I don't
go
even
ahead.
wear makeup on a daily basis. So yeah, you can talk about level headed here. I'm a low maintenance girl.
Yes, we love it. We love to see it. Okay. So I want to talk about kind of like, I divided this up into kind of like parts. So the kind of overall theme is like everything from like DIY at home to kind of like injectables in the office, your guide to quote unquote anti-aging, whatever that looks like for you, whether it's just like keeping my skin healthy, whether it is doing any of those procedures. But let's start kind of at home. What is like worth doing if someone is like, I want to take better care of my skin. I want to do what I can, but like I'm not ready for the whole office situation thing.
Yeah. So I tell people low maintenance, you're just getting into skincare. There's two things that you need: a retinol at night and a sunscreen in the morning. So those are like the most basic things that you can do that have data behind them. And their price points are super variable. So they're really affordable for a lot of different people and kind of what they're looking for. Generally, like just gentle cleanser. I'm a Cetaphil, CeraVe, nothing fancy. There's a lot of talk about, like hydraulic acid cleansers and exfoliating and those things. If they feel good to your skin, great, do that. But retinols can be really irritating, and retinols have a lot more data in terms of anti-aging. They're irritating, so we don't want to add those other irritating cleansers with them. So bland and gentle retinoids at night. I do tell people, retinoids especially, but a lot of our anti-aging products, they're 401k plans, right? Despite like their beautiful pictures of do this for 4 weeks and look at your skin, this is a long-term investment. Like you're going to be using this nightly for years to come, and it's going to slow the signs of aging, but I wouldn't expect to put it on for 4 weeks and notice yourself looking 5 years younger. So they're slow to work, but they work really well. And then in the morning, a daily sunscreen. Like you say, sun exposure is one of the things that ages our skin the quickest. So even if you're just sitting at your desk in the office, but you have a window nearby, you're going to be getting UVA light through windows. So people tell me, well, I don't go outside. Well, we know screens give off blue light. Blue light is aging the skin. We know that UVA is penetrating through the windows in your car. You're still walking, places. I mean, do you have to be a vampire? Absolutely not. But it's something to think about in terms of people are usually getting more exposure than they think.
Okay. Do you have an SPF like recommendation for like, because I know it like ranges for what to wear kind of just like on a daily basis?
Yeah, I would say SPF 30 is my minimum
Okay.
for like daily basis wear. If you're going to be in a more intense time of sun exposure, say you're going to the beach or sitting at a football game, something like that, I really love SPF 50 or higher. There's this rumor that it doesn't get any better after SPF 30 in a lab.
Mm.
That's true, but most people don't put it on thick enough. because they really are coding it on to get that rating when they're studying it in the lab. So there have been studies in real life that look at, okay, if you use SPF 30 and you use SPF 100, you just hand people a bottle. People who get the bottle of 100 have more protection because neither group is putting it on as thick as they should to get the number rating on the bottle.
Interesting. What about like 15? I feel like 15 is the like one that I see the most, probably in like the most budget friendly options. Does 15 like do anything?
Oh yeah, I mean it still does something, but again, that requires that you're like putting it on really thick. So, if you're using a spray, half of your spray is probably getting aerosolized into the air to begin with, and most people wouldn't even be coating it on thick enough to get the SPF number to start with. So you've probably got an SPF 6 by the time you're using an SPF 15 spray and you're done applying. So, I mean, is it okay? It's better than nothing, but would it
Okay.
be my preferred number? No.
Okay.
Usually the price between SPF like 15 and 30 isn't different just based on the SPF numbers strictly, but there are definitely some affordable products that have an SPF 30 or 50 for daily use.
Okay. For sunscreen, I am team like the lotion. My husband is team spray, so I can't wait to go tell him that I hate the sprays.
I've got more ammo for you if you need it. We can talk about the sprays more whenever you want.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Anything that you want to say in terms of spray while we're on the topic.
Well, sunscreen kind of gets a bad reputation, or it's actually, let's just say it's in an era of getting a bad reputation,
Yes.
right? I feel like things in the internet go in cycles of what are
Yep.
we hating on right now? And right now, sunscreens and its
Mhm.
negative light. So one of the things that kind of brings it into its negative light, or one of the things that people are talking, well, sunscreen causes cancer. I'm not going to use something that's going to cause cancer. I'll just risk it with getting skin cancer, right? Well, we
Mhm.
absolutely know that sun causes skin cancer. There is no data that sunscreen causes skin cancer. There was an evaluation, so the FDA does regulate sunscreens, and they looked at contamination basically of sunscreens. So benzene is a manufacturing ingredient that's put into cosmeceuticals, sunscreen being one of them. This was in 2021, and they evaluated which of these sunscreens had benzene levels, which is a carcinogen in high levels, that were too high. And a lot of them did. There's a list online if you wanted to kind of make sure you didn't have it, just Google sunscreens with benzene. A majority of those sunscreens were in the spray form. So something about how
Mm.
they're making sunscreen in the spray form was higher likelihood of having it be contaminated with benzene. There were some lotions in there too, but they were generally like big box, like your
Mhm.
Walmart brand or your things like that. Of course, Neutrogena, Coppertone, like all the brands maybe had one that did stick in there as a lotion, but mostly it was sprays and then cheaper end brands.
Mhm. So
So that's another reason we say no spray.
do you recommend the lotion then?
Percent.
Okay. Cool.
Yes, it's definitely safer in terms of limited, less likely to have any benzene exposure, and then you're just going to get it on way thicker, easier to see if you missed a spot.
Love it. Okay. So we have the gentle cleanser, which is so funny because I'm thinking back to like the early 2000s, like late 90s when like all those like intense like sandpaper things were all the rage. And then everyone's just like, let's tone it down a notch. So
I feel
gentle
like the
cleanser.
grapefruit one was like really had a
Yes.
moment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it was literally like you were taking a sand like paper to your face.
Yeah.
Anywho. Okay, so we have those. Now let's talk about kind of like over the counter products. First of all, can you get retinol over the counter? I feel like something just changed recently with that.
Mhm.
Any thoughts or questions on that?
Yeah, so there's a retinol and retinoic acid. There's a difference between the prescription formulation of a retinol and the over-the-counter version. So you
Okay.
can get it, but it has to go through two basically transformations or enzyme jumps to be the active form, where the prescription only has to go through one jump. So it's just more
Okay.
potent.
Got it.
But you absolutely can get retinols in an over-the-counter formulation. They're just weaker because they do have to go through two steps to become that active form. The
Is
strength is
that
much
something better
lower.
than nothing at that point? Okay.
100%. And a lot of times retinols are really irritating, so some people can only tolerate over-the-counter retinols. So it's definitely something is better than nothing. But prescription strength, obviously, the higher you go, the more benefit you'll get. But certainly over-the-counters can provide benefit, especially for people who have sensitive skin that just can't tolerate the intense strength of prescriptions.
Okay. What about other over the counter stuff? I mean, there is like every kind of serum and lotion and potion. There's different, I mean, price points. Like you get one thing for like $7, another thing is like $200. What is kind of, let's kind of talk about them in like order of importance and then like, does price matter?
Yeah. So my next thing, I say, okay, if you're using a sunscreen, you're using a retinol, my next thing I have people add is a vitamin C serum. So vitamin C is another thing that has pretty good data. It acts as an antioxidant. So it should go on in the morning because it will help to kind of neutralize some of the sun damage or just damage that you get from like the low air quality we have right now in West Michigan from the smoke. So just environmental exposures that can cause oxidation. Vitamin C is something that probably does matter, which I hate to say because they can be so expensive. But vitamin C is very hard to keep shelf stable in a form that will actually be active or able to work on your skin. So the best quality vitamin C is going to have vitamin E in it as well, and then an added medicate or an added topical ingredient called ferulic acid. So there are studies to say that vitamin C that is stabilized with E and ferulic acid will be more beneficial, generally something 15 to 20%. So unfortunately, most of the time, those are going to be your higher end, over $100 price point for vitamin C serums.
Okay. I remember I went into SkinCeuticals and I was like, oh my gosh, this is not the.
The SkinCeutical C Ferulic has quite a bit of, I mean, it is like an arm and a leg. It kills me to recommend it because it is so expensive. A little does go a long way. So I can make a bottle of that last like probably 3 to 4 months. But I will tell you, I really like it. Some people think it smells like hot dog water. So there are people who don't like it. I know. It's a weird thing. My mother-in-law's one of them. But Obagi is another brand that does make a nice vitamin C serum that has ferulic acid in it. And it's a little bit of a lower price point too. So I usually would recommend if you're going to spend the money on it, getting the SkinCeutical C Ferulic or looking at the Obagi 20%.
Okay. Fabulous. What about anything else after vitamin C?
Yeah. I mean, so things that have some data, which I would say like easy ads, hyaluronic acid. It's, an acid that draws in water, so it's a humectant to help with plumping and fine lines. Neutrogena Hydro Boost is actually a great hyaluronic acid product, and it's affordable and super readily available. It comes in a gel, so if you have more oily skin, I say, okay, pick the gel because it's going to be a little bit more drying. If you have dry skin, pick the cream because it's a little bit more moisturizing. Easy thing to just do a moisturizer, after your vitamin C serum in the morning. Most people are going to be putting on a moisturizer anyway. So I say, pick that one. It just has a little bit of, added plump than what another moisturizer might have. Niacinamide is another thing that people can look for. So niacinamide is vitamin B3. Again, good with like anti-aging, oxidation. So some of your over-the-counter lotions or sunscreens will add niacinamide in there. So it's just an ingredient that I don't think you need to buy a product with just niacinamide. But if you're looking at the store and one has niacinamide in it, well, you might choose that because it can be another effective anti-aging ingredient. There's a lot out there about like peptides, which are probably going to be a part of our anti-aging regimen, but they're also hundreds of dollars for like bottles or serums. And for me, the data's not there yet to ask people to spend their hard-earned $200 to $300 on these cosmeceuticals, right? Like, if you have the budget, if you are a skincare lover who just loves layers, slap it on. But for my patients who are trying to keep things basic and not, have to go over on their car payment because they're affording these cosmetic products, then I would say I would skip those. I do love an eye cream just because the eyes are such a hard place to reverse aging. The skin around the eyes is so thin, so it loses water more rapidly. Most people are smiling and having crow's feet. They're just really dynamic muscles. So an eye cream is something that I usually tell everyone they should probably have in their regimen. I have two that I like, but again, they're a little bit higher price point, mostly because they have products to kind of try and stimulate collagen or help with that skin health. So yeah, Neocutis Firm Reach is one of my favorite ones, and Obagi Elastoderm. But again, a little bit of a higher price point. Otherwise, just make sure your retinol is getting up there.
Okay. A couple more questions for you on the DIY stuff. So order of application. Do you do vitamins? I think you said vitamin C, then moisturizer.
So
anything else in terms of order? And do you need to wait between?
I don't. Who has time for that?
I know.
No. So in my regimen, I wash with my gentle cleanser, pat your skin dry. You're not using any like loofahs, washcloths, anything, just basically lathering with your hands, keeping it super gentle. When your skin is actually a little bit damp from washing, it will absorb more of the products that you're putting on. So I say like pat your skin dry and then get your first layer on. If you have a prescription medication, like let's say you have an acne cream or something like that, any prescription would go on first. And then I would follow with your vitamin C serum, your moisturizing cream, and then your sunscreen.
Okay,
If you're
thank you
throwing an
very
eye
much.
cream in there, I would make that between, like, after your vitamin C, before your moisturize.
Sounds good. And then last question is like, what about like the face rollers, ice rolling, gua sha stuff?
Do you have a lot of extra time in your day? Do you enjoy doing that? Go for it. I don't have data to recommend it. Maybe it'll make a small difference, but again, the data's just not there. It's kind of a hot fad, but it's probably not going to cause you any harm, right? Make sure it's clean, but otherwise, go for it. I just don't recommend it for my patients because I don't have much to stand on to do that.
Okay. So the next kind of like step, I guess, would be like a dermatologist office. So what are, I guess, like, how would someone know, okay, they've done all the stuff that we've talked about. How would they know, like, is it just kind of like personal preference of like, I want a little bit more? Kind of like, how would they know to take that step to go to a dermatologist if they want to?
Yeah, 100%. It would be things that bother you, right? So looking in the mirror, you're saying, oh my gosh, my redness in my cheeks is bothering me, or I'm having sun freckling and I've been really trying to avoid the sun, but it's just not fading as much as I want to, or I'm having, my skin is looking a little bit less elastic than it used to. And so it's really patient driven concerns. And there's a myriad of options to kind of treat those. And from less aggressive, less invasive things like diamond glow or microdermabrasion, chemical peels, microneedling, all the way up to like major resurfacing lasers like fractionated CO2 and Fraxel and things like that. So there's just a really, really wide range depending on people's price point, their willingness for downtime, their desired outcomes, but there's lots to offer.
Okay. Can we go through some of those, like maybe like the least invasive and then kind of like going up there? Can you kind of give us like a general overview? I feel like there's so many things that I wrote a couple of them down, but I know there's like so many. And to be honest, like I don't even know what they do. And then also kind of like invasiveness and then like the price point. I know it probably depends on like where someone lives. Like you said, we're here in West Michigan, but someone who lives in like New York or LA might have something different, but just kind of like where things fall.
Yeah. And the cosmeceutical, like the cosmetic treatment options are vast. So I won't even like be able to cover all of them today because you go somewhere and they're going to have the new twist on some previously used cosmetic procedure. But generally, like microdermabrasion is a pretty easy place to start. It's basically using a tool to kind of suction away dead skin cells and resurface the skin. Downtime is really minimal, but it kind of helps just give you like a fresh look, right? Kind of brightens up your skin, makes people feel a little dewy. Really non-invasive. Price point is on the lower end for these cosmetic procedures in terms of like low hundreds for a treatment.
And is that for anything specific or for more just like general skincare?
General skincare. Most of these things too are going to be like, okay, well, they're sold in packages of 3. If you really want benefits, so you want to be able to see long-term changes, most people are going to need 3 to 6 treatments of these things to say, okay, yeah, I'm really pleased with that result. I say some people are really happy with just one package of 3, depending on their concern or where they're starting at, but it is like you need multiple repeated treatments to really get to most people's endpoints. Chemical peels are probably the next on the step. That being said, chemical peels can be really variable. You can do really gentle chemical peels that you may not even see a visible peel from, or you may peel for 2 to 3 days. And then you can have really aggressive chemical peels where you are like not showing your face in public for 7 days.
That's
I
what
would
I
say,
automatically think of.
yeah, most people are getting those mild chemical peels where they might call it the weekend peel. You go in on a Friday and there's so many options in terms of chemical peels, in terms of what they can treat from acne to fine lines to dark spots. So I would say it would be a consultation in the office as to like what chemical peel is right for you based on your concerns. Again, usually a series of these to get stacked or, continued benefit with each peel. Again, usually in the low hundreds price point for a package of 3. Next, I would probably be going up to microneedling, which is a personal favorite of mine. It's a really easy treatment in the office. This one's like you do use topical numbing medication, so it's a little bit more involved in that way. But it's basically a pen that's just poking a bunch of needles in your skin to try and stimulate collagen regeneration. So main target is kind of collagen synthesis, fine lines, wrinklings, like skin turgor or kind of elasticity. There's some reports that it can help a little bit with pigmentation or pore size, but I would say mostly I think it's focusing on the anti-aging and skin health. Downtime is pretty minimal. Like you're going to look pink, like you maybe had a bad sunburn for a day or two, your skin might feel a little bit tight, but like I go back to work the next day and no one really looks twice. Put on a little tinted sunscreen and away you go. So that's a little bit higher in terms of mid to high hundreds, usually for packages of 3 for microneedling.
And do you do that when you say packages of 3? Is it like every month you do it or is it
Yeah,
spaced out?
usually 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
And I tell people, once you go through your package of 3 or package of 6, most of these are going to be like routine maintenance, right? It's kind of like anything in life. Okay, you do it, you get the benefit, but you're still going to continue to age. So you might want to be doing one of these packages once a year. Or you might say, okay, I'm really happy with my results. I'm going to do another treatment every 3 months or every 6 months just to kind of try and maintain things. And then you'd be looking at laser treatments pretty much after that. And there's so many laser treatments. IPL or BBL is a really popular one, and that can target, it's not actually a laser, it's high intensity light. So it can target brown and red at the same time. So for people who have sun freckles or a little bit of rosacea, it can be a really great option. There's vascular lasers that just target redness for people who feel like they have that bright red rosy cheek or too much flushing that they don't like. And then there's resurfacing lasers that are going to be looking at, generally poking holes in the skin or using radio frequency to kind of tighten things. Those are generally on the thousands of dollars for a series of 3.
Okay.
Mhm.
And where do injectables fall? I know, so there's like Botox, there's filler, anything else? And then kind of like what are the differences?
Yeah, there's another one called Kybella, which is not as popular, but it is supposed to dissolve fat. So it's kind of used for people who feel like they have that chicken skin or a little bit of a pouch underneath their jawline. I would say the most popular injectables would be we call them neuromodulators, which would be Botox, Dysport, Xeomin, Jeuveau. There's just new ones on the market. And then, like you say, fillers. I would say that these can work side by side or in conjunction with those other treatments or standalone. So to me, it's kind of like apples and oranges. You can eat both at the same time, but they're not necessarily doing the same thing. Your neuromodulators are going to be reducing, which is, do you want me to call it Botox just for the simplicity of it? We'll call it Botox just for simplicity so everyone knows what we're talking about. Botox is going to be trying to reduce your ability to make facial expressions. So the idea is that it's going to prevent deepening of movement lines. Those other treatments are really going to be looking at, yes, they'll help with some movement lines, but it's just kind of general fine lines and changes of skin aging that aren't necessarily correlated with you furrowing your eyebrows when you're angry or raising your eyebrows with an expressive face. And that's where Botox would come in by preventing you from being able to make that line or that movement or not being able to make it as severely. It might just soften the movement. The idea is that it will soften those wrinkles. It certainly won't erase them if they're already there, but it will soften them and prevent them from getting deeper with regular use. Usually Botox, if you're like being really hardcore about it, is every 3 to 4 months. That's when it will start to kind of wear off. I always tell people, well, if you can't make that expression for 3 or 4 months of the year, that's better than being able to make it for all 12. So it's not something that once you start, you have to stay on a super strict regimen about, but it will just kind of help with some of those more fixed, deep set-in lines that are from movement.
Okay, that makes sense. And I just keep thinking about as we're having these conversations about like how in social media, like there's like everyone listening, like keep in mind, like there's all of these things. And I guess what's kind of like your take on it? Like you always hear like celebrities being like, I drink a lot of water and I like do all of this stuff. And everyone's like, BS, like you like just kind of like say it. I don't even know necessarily like what the question that I'm asking is, but like, I guess just kind of like a reminder to everyone that like, just like with anything, like you never truly know what someone has like done or kind of like what they're going through. I don't know. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, drinking water is really great for your skin health, but it's not going to keep you like Jennifer Aniston looking like she's, 30.
That's exactly what came to mind.
Yeah, so they want to keep their, treatments a secret. I think in the age of social media, like we aren't privy to all that information. If they want to go do that in the back and not tell us about it, like I'm okay with that. I think
Yeah.
they deserve privacy too. But realistically, yeah, we can all carry around our water bottle and try and get 64 ounces in a day, but there's more to it than just good lifestyle changes. That being said, good lifestyle is absolutely a way to kind of support that anti-aging, right? Healthy diets, the anti-inflammatory diet kind of gets like it's a hot word in our space, which is generally going to be those healthy fats, those complex carbs, fruits, vegetables, lots of water. All of that can help just your overall health, right? I mean, I'm talking to a nutritionist here, so you can speak to that more than I can. Yes, those things are absolutely important, but they're not the whole story for our 60-year-olds who are looking 30.
Yes. So just remember that, everyone, as you're scrolling through social media, and I completely agree with you in the fact that, like, they don't owe me to tell me every single move they make, but I think that's more of just like a consumer side of, I mean, obviously we don't like want to sit here and like say like, oh, I don't do this when you do, but I just think that as we all kind of scroll social media, just kind of remember we're only seeing certain things. We're not with them 24/7 of the day. So if you compare yourself, remember you're probably not comparing yourself to the full story. Okay,
100%.
so I kind of wanted to wrap this. I could literally just talk to you and pick your brain forever, but you got things to do. So let's talk about some myths, mistakes, and kind of like must do's. So, what are a couple skincare myths that you wish would like go away, far away, stay away?
Well, the whole sunscreen causes cancer right now would be one of my favorite ones. If we could get rid of that, I think that would do people really well. Another one would be that like natural products are better for your skin. I always remind people who want to use natural products, I think that's great. Some of them can be fine, but poison ivy is natural too, and that's not really good for our
Ooh, that's
skin.
good.
So some of these synthetically derived cosmetics are specifically formulated, studied in a lab to deliver what they need to your skin. A lot of these natural products are actually a little bit irritating or can cause more problems. So just be cautious. Just because, CeraVe made a cream in a lab, it doesn't mean that it's inherently bad. It's actually still really good for your skin. It just might not have your eucalyptus oil in it, which isn't always helpful. So I think that there's just balance to that, just like there's balance to everything. And also, you know, there's a little bit of fear mongering on the internet these days. That's part of the sunscreen getting its bad reputation. But like parabens and sulfates and aluminum, they're also getting those bad reputations. And a lot of this is data that's really old, done in animals in doses that are not what humans would be exposed to with regular use. And so I just think it causes, if you want to avoid those things, I think good. Do what gives you peace in your heart and lets you live happily each day. But I just wish that people weren't living in fear of these exposures every day, because I just think it's taking away some of the joy of life. So I think those things are safe in regular use, and I wish people would feel okay not living in fear.
You sound like the dermatologist version of how I address food, and I love it.
Well, good. We make a good team then.
Okay, so now what are some mistakes that even like skincare lovers make?
Ugh, drinking through a straw.
This is
Yeah,
so,
because
I was literally talking to talking about this with someone this morning, so go on.
yeah, I mean, it's just like very, again, eyes and lips, very fast places to age, very difficult to reverse the total aging. Like, one, you need to use your lips, right? If we like do Botox or whatnot, you can't make a pursing like lip, which might mean you can't kiss your husband or your grandkid or play your trumpet or sip your hot soup. So, I mean, realistically, those are muscles you still need to work. So, if you have the option to not sip through a straw and work those muscles a little bit more, pick an open cup. Which I mean, it's not a huge thing, but I just know there are some people who really hate those perioral wrinkles or those lines around their mouth, and those are just a little bit of a difficult spot to treat. Otherwise, I think not wearing enough sunscreen or not being cognizant about sun exposure. I know people who put a ton of money into their laser treatments or cosmetics over the counter, and then they're going to go out to the lake and burn or get really tan for the weekend. And they're just undoing all of that hard work and all of the money that they've really spent. So just reminding them that, well, if you want that money to be put to good use, I do the hard work of being smart in the sun. I don't want anyone to sit inside all summer and, look at it out the window. There's great benefit to being outside in terms of anxiety, stress reduction, even getting sun for, good health benefits and moving your body. But just be smart about not overdoing it.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the straw thing for a second. Do you have a Stanley? Are you a Stanley person? I'm not. I don't have a Stanley.
I do not have a Stanley.
Okay.
You can use it without the straw, but I do not have a Stanley.
I am like, I already have a water bottle. I don't want to switch it up. But the person I was talking to this morning, we were talking about, and I didn't know they make this a like straw where it like is a flat line. So you like, it's an anti-wrinkle Stanley straw. I had
I
no
love it.
idea Google it, guys.
I hadn't known about this either, so I think that's wonderful. If you love your Stanley, it's a small adjustment you could make.
There you go. Oh, too funny. Okay. Last question that I have here is what is the one thing you want every listener to walk away doing from all of these things that we've talked about today?
I think being confident in their skin. Like you say, aging is not a bad thing. And I think that you can age beautifully. And it's the confidence that you carry, right? So if you want to do all of these things and it makes you confident, I think that's beautiful. If you don't want to do any of these things and you feel confident with the way that, you feel in your skin, I think that's beautiful too. I would tell people make sure that you take your vitamin D. Vitamin D is super important in immune regulation. And when we want you to be, kind of cautious in the sun and wearing your sunscreen, 1 to 2,000 international units of vitamin D3 a day is going to go a long way in terms of your overall health. So I would say take vitamin D the safe way, make sure that's in your diet, and wear your sunscreen. Be smart.
Mhm. I love that. And I cannot advocate more for getting your vitamin D level tested. I remember the first time I did mine, I was like, holy shiitake mushrooms, like that is low. I think so. I mean, we live in the Midwest, but like a lot of people I think would be shocked at their vitamin D level. So that's a
I
very good one.
checking a lot of vitamin D levels because, well, exactly, just for that reason.
Yes. Love it. Well, oh my gosh, I feel like I learned so much on this episode. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to keep the conversation going, but any last words, any last thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
No, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about things that I'm passionate about and
Yay.
love sharing and hopefully just inspiring people to do what feels right for them.
Yes, without overcomplicating it and wasting our money and our time. So I appreciate that.
My pleasure.
What a freaking enlightening conversation. I loved it so much. Like I said, I immediately went out and got the moisturizer that she recommends. She was spot on with the cream versus gel. And I also bought the eye cream. Love it. It is a little bit of a splurge, the eye cream is, but if you can do it, loved it. And like I said, we do have all of the products that she recommends linked in the blog post, which will be in the description. And the conversation with Dr. Vasicek does not stop here. We have an extended episode in the Luli app. And if you don't have the Luli app yet, you can go to the description, click that link, and download it for free. You'll get a free 7-day trial. So go give this extended episode a listen. And if you hate the app, which I don't think you will because we're going to have an extended episode for every single podcast, you'll get the Luli News Monday through Friday, all 3 stories, recipes, meal planner, grocery list, so much more. But on the off chance that you do, you can cancel at any time. Thank you for tuning into this episode, friends. We would love, love, love if you subscribe to the podcast, hit follow wherever you get your podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to hit subscribe and give this podcast a rating, review, or a comment, however mode you are listening to this. And if you think that one of your friends or someone you know would love it, be sure to send that to them, or even better, share it to your social media. We would love, love, love to keep this going and give you more and more guests for the future. So thank you so, so much for tuning in. We can't wait to hear what you think, and we'll see you in the next one. See you later.